Hello and welcome back to my channel. So we have a very interesting topic to discuss today, and it is addiction. Addiction plays a big role in the lives of many, many people. So the people watching and other people in the world are definitely affected by addiction. Now, what I'm going to do before I start this discussion is I'm just going to read a definition of addiction. So, addiction is the use of substances or engaging in behavior for which the rewarding effects provide a compelling incentive to repeat the activity despite detrimental consequences. So, basically, this is letting us know that an addiction feels good. And because of that, the individual has a desire to just continue to have that feeling. And so they will continue to engage in those behaviors or continue to engage in those substances because they want to feel good. And a lot of times they're trying to fill a void, but the real reason that people have these addictions is because something in their life is going on. They don't really know how to handle it. They don't know how to behave regarding it. And they figure, okay, I'm just going to drown my sorrow or drown my problems in this addiction, whatever it is. So there are lots of types of addictions. So we'll start out with alcoholism. Now, if you drink every weekend, then you have a problem with alcoholism. And you think, oh, but it's just me and it's my buddies and we just do this. Well, it's still alcoholism. And, you can just turn on the news to find out about somebody driving while intoxicated and possibly hurting themselves or hurting someone else. It's really not fair to other people because your judgment wasn't where it should have been because, you were inebriated. Okay. And so another one is smoking. And this one is, I'm very familiar with this one. And it's not because I smoke, it's just that in practice, I have cared for a lot of people who smoke. And people, they have had this addiction for years and years. And I would ask the question, so when did you start smoking or why do you smoke? And a lot of people start smoking when they're very young. And then before long, it's just a habit. But the things that people don't really know about smoking, they know about the fact that it can potentially cause cancer. But the other thing that it does is it makes your blood vessels smaller and it makes you more prone to having heart attacks and strokes. And then what if you do get cancer from smoking? That right there is something that's detrimental, to the individual because the thing about cigarettes is it's not that you just get lung cancer because you're putting the polluted smoke into your lungs and whatnot. It's not just that. I mean, it increases your risk of having any kind of cancer. There is a thing that's called sex addiction. Yes, believe it or not, the feeling that people get from having sex, they feel like I've just got to keep doing this because I've just got to reach that point to where I just feel so good. So what about methamphetamines and cocaine? Now, those are terms, we've heard about these things for a long time. And a lot of times, if somebody is on drugs and they're on meth or cocaine, actually, you can look at them. They don't weigh a lot. They will do pretty much anything, pretty much anything to get their fix. That means taking things from you, taking things from their families, and selling them because they've just got to have this fix. And, we've watched television and we've watched interviews with stars who talk about things like, well, I've been sober for 10 years or, I've been clean for blah, blah, blah. And these actors and singers and all these people, they have all this money, so they have access to these drugs, and they, deal with people who get them their drugs. And it's unfortunate that we see that, because just take, for instance, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, one of the greatest singers of all time. You look at Prince, same thing, one of the greatest singers of all time, but they were addicted to drugs, and then their life was cut short, just because they could not get over these addictions. But these addictions have a real pull. They really do, to the individual. It gets them to the point where they've got to have the drugs or they've got to have the alcohol, and they don't really care about anything else in life except for that addiction. Gambling is also an addiction. So you have these individuals who spend all this money, and sometimes it's money that they don't even have, but it's that high that they get from gambling. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But nevertheless, the act of gambling is also considered an addiction. The individuals who have addictions, sometimes over time, their bodies build up what's called a tolerance. And then instead of them, drinking a case of beer a weekend, they may have to drink a case and a half to get the high. But then I've also seen the effects of alcohol abuse in cirrhosis of the liver, and I've seen very young people get cirrhosis of the liver. And if I tell you that cirrhosis is a horrible death, please believe me, it is a horrible death. So find something else that, makes you feel good rather than these things, because these things will lead you down a road of destruction that, if you're not careful, you won't make it back from. Because some people who engage in these activities, they die. I mean, that is what happens. Do you remember those commercials when we were young and they said, just say no? And these were campaigns. It's like, just say no to drugs. So the best way not to get yourself caught up in these situations is just not to get started to begin with. And it's okay that you go to the party and that's what they're doing, and it's okay for you to say no. Hey, that's not my thing. I'm not going to get started with that. And it's okay, because you don't have to join along with the gang to be the cool person. It's okay if they don't even think you're cool because you decided not to engage. You just happen to be a smart person, right? So these addictions basically will dominate a person's life, because they may get to the point where they don't care about trying to go to family functions. They don't care about going to work, and whatever other responsibilities that they have, they no longer care about those things. All they care about is that addiction. It's that one thing that makes them feel so good, you know? But the decision is going to be yours. And there should come a point in your life, at least I hope that there's a point in your life where you say, living like this, it's not helping me. And I hope that some point you will have the desire to change your life, because sometimes what happens for you and to you is that your desire to change, becomes more than your desire to stay the same, and then maybe you will seek help. Well, that's where I come in. So if you want to talk about it, let me know. Check me out. Better Days, faithbasedcounseling.com. Have a great day.